According to a new tell-all book, Biden's inner circle revealed that they were worried the president would need a wheelchair in his second term, especially after they were all done stabbing him in the back.
Little fun, Julius Caesar stabbing him in the back humor. Late at night, it was an attempt anyway. Might need a wheelchair. And now, what have we learned about Joe Biden? Well, a lot. Learned a lot about Joe Biden over the weekend. And I was out a couple days the end of last week as well. I had a lot going on. What do you got? Come on, and one of my brothers visiting our nation's capital and stayed with us, and we had a lot to do. We had lots of things. I did take a couple of days off. Very unusual. And I was just looking at our stories sheet here this morning. It's the shortest, most incomplete story sheet I think I've ever seen. I need to get to work. Give me a break here, Michael. I'm going to come back in a couple of minutes with a bunch more stuff. It is a short story sheet, but that doesn't mean there isn't a lot to talk about, because there is a lot to talk about. And not only just your normal weekend Democrat Party stuff, we had another Democrat Party suicide attack, another Democrat suicide. They're like Al-Qaeda. You think they're more like Al-Qaeda, or they're old boys from the KKK? Who are they more like? I think they're more ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the Democrat Party is today. All the Democrats, they're another suicide attack. This is at an in vitro fertilization clinic in Palm Springs, California. Beautiful Palm Springs, California, out in the desert. And I haven't been there in a long time, but real nice place. And he blowed himself up. Is that the correct pronunciation? He blowed himself up in a vehicle at an in vitro fertilization clinic. Killed himself. He's killed. And he set himself on fire and blew himself. You see the car blown in half and the whole thing. He's a Democrat, and it turns out the FBI came out, and they said that he had, now he's dead, so he doesn't have anything, but what he had nihilistic ideations. Nihilistic ideations? Wow, that's a 50-cent term, isn't it? Yeah, nihilistic ideations is what he's all about, and it's what he was all about. Now he's all about toast. He's about boom, toast, all that stuff. So, but it's quite amazing. Another suicide attack, another self-immolation, and the guy, well, I have to keep doing past tense, anti-life. He's anti-life, which is perfectly normal Democrat stuff, and doesn't like humanity, perfectly normal Democrat Party talking point. He hadn't, his father, guy's got a father, I think he's 25 years old, the self-immolating suicide bomber, 25 years old. And his father, he's got a father, and his father has said that even though he's 25 years old, he had not spoken to his son in at least 10 years. That's a long time for a 25-year-old son. The family that self-immolates together. The Democrat Party, his name is Guy Edward I keep saying present tense. The guy's name was Guy Edward Bartkus. Bartkus. He's reminds me of the Roman Empire, doesn't it? Bartkus. But Guy, maybe it's Guy. Maybe he wants to be French. Could be Guy. It's G-Y. Guy Edward Bartkus, and he blew himself up and blew up an in vitro fertilization clinic because of his nihilistic ideations, and you can say nihilistic if you prefer. It's either. I like to say either rather than either. But nihilistic ideations, and he blowed himself up real good, and now he's dead because he hates human life, and he doesn't like anything about Earth, and now that's all taken care of. Several other people were injured in his suicide attack, but no one else killed. He was the only one killed, K-I-L-T. That's so I've got updates for you on that. Things weren't going very well for him, but now he is, just amazing. Also, speaking of free speech being under assault by the left everywhere, and we had J.D. Vance talk about this when he was at the Munich Defense Conference months ago, and we played the audio for you at the time. The Democrats were very angry because they're really dumb, and they don't know what's going on in the world anywhere. But there's a kind of amazing story that popped over the weekend. A Swiss writer, You can call him a journalist. You can call him a writer. And that'd be in Switzerland. Very nice country. Petite, one of those petite countries. Very small. And a Swiss writer who called a journalist a fat lesbian, has been sentenced to prison for calling her a fat lesbian. And what about Rosie O'Donnell? Does Rosie O'Donnell, if she went to Switzerland, would she have to check into prison because of Rosie O'Donnell? But maybe it's, if you're describing someone else, it's jailable. It's an imprisonable offense. But if you're talking about yourself, like Rosie O'Donnell, maybe it's okay.
Rosie, big, fat, lesbian, loud Rosie.
See, and this Swiss writer, gotta admit, the New York Post has the story. The Washington Post doesn't defend free speech. The New York Times, they don't defend free speech. Western civilization is under assault, and I've been talking about this for a long time now. The Enlightenment is under assault by the left, and free speech very much under assault. But the good people at the New York Post had this story. Swiss writer who called a journalist a fat lesbian sentenced to 60 days in prison. Completely nutty. And that's free speech being under assault, isn't it? Yes, it is. Certainly is. I haven't even gotten to what might be the big story of the day, and that is Joe Biden, Joseph Robinette Biden, not the smartest man in the world. And it turns out that he has prostate cancer. And it's kind of interesting because it's, the patriarchy is doing prayer. Didn't he have a moonshot to cure cancer? I don't remember. He campaigned on that, and then I don't remember that coming up for 4 years. I don't remember a single thing, not a finger lifted on that whole curing cancer thing. But Joe Biden has been diagnosed, the former president of the United States. Robinette is his middle name, like a little robin. Been diagnosed thanks to the patriarchy and the American medical system, which they tried to destroy with Obamacare. Prostate cancer, he's been diagnosed, and it looks like his survival rate should be very good thanks to the patriarchy and the United States of America, the greatest country ever in the history of the world. And so we've got and big pharma, which they hate. Isn't it funny? The Democrats, they hate big pharma. That's what they call it. Anything they call big, they hate. Big pharma, big medicine, big business, big banks, big anything that's big, they hate. And they hate almost everything because they're mentally ill and they have gender dysphoria. But that's just another story that will probably enter into today's discussion as well. Prostate cancer, and it's an aggressive form of prostate cancer. It has metastasized into the bone, which might indicate that he's had it for a long time and that maybe NIH, which takes care, National Institutes of Health, preside over the health of the President of the United States. And it turns out that he may have had it for years, and they might have lied to us about it. They could have just lied and lied and lied to us about it because they lie to us about everything, about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, and also everybody. And as soon as we found out, Michael Piercy and I and Kevin Tober and Randy Lefebvre, we were texting back and forth on our text thread, and we all expressed our sadness and sorrow, and it was authentic. And then I made a joke or two, but it was authentic because I wish the old creep no harm, no actual harm. Although Tara Reid weighed in on this, and she may wish him harm. She used to work for him on Capitol Hill and was sexually assaulted by him, and then the New York Times and CNN swept that under the rug because they're not in the news business at all. They're frauds and charlatans and not journalists at all. But I digress. So the cancer, which is it's bad, prostate cancer, and they say it's stage 4, which is not good. And you'd think that as President of the United States until a couple of months ago, maybe this would have been caught more early on, would have been caught earlier before it metastasized to the bone. And they are saying that hormone therapy developed by the patriarchy and the big pharmaceutical companies will likely save him, and that the survival rate for prostate cancer, I guess even at stage 4, but that may be a trick part of the question here. the survival rate of up to 5 years, you'll survive 5 years after being diagnosed, survival rate is 98%. 98%, which is not bad. You know, you're welcome. Just go ahead and thank the patriarchy and the big pharmaceutical companies, because even though you're hostile to everyone around you, they'll still save you because these people are so much better than you are if you're a leftist lunatic. So we've got those things going on. Oh, yeah, by the way, P. Diddy, P. Diddy trial. Hey, what do we know about P. Diddy? Well, he's a Democrat. That's what we know about P. Diddy. He's, a sexual predator and a creep and a billionaire. He's a billionaire, right? Everybody's a billionaire. All these leftist mental cases are. He should transition and become a woman, and then he can go to a ladies' prison where he can continue to be sexually abusing women. Don't you think? Apparently he was sexually abusing boys, too, right? Yeah. You know why? He's a Democrat, because he's a Democrat, and they all have these issues. Isn't that amazing? In the meantime, the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, who converted to Catholicism some time ago, and Marco Rubio, who was born to Catholicism, lucky Marco Rubio, born to Catholicism, had a meeting with Pope Leo XIV at the Vatican, and they weren't talking about P. Diddy, and they weren't talking about suicide attacks at the Palm Spring in vitro fertilization clinic and all that. But the Democrats, I'm telling you, they are these people. They're truly something. And have I mentioned, I don't think I have, that we continue to be reachable at 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. We've got that for you, and isn't that wonderful? Yes, it is. We've got a great many stories to get to, and it's from the suicide bombers to metastasizing prostate cancer, which was doubtless learned about years ago, and then they lie. How could it be stage 4 and metastasized to the bone? He was the president just a few months ago, and how does that happen? And it's funny, I was texting with my friend Marty yesterday, and he's like, call me a cynic, but I can't help but think that maybe they knew about this a long time ago, and they just didn't let on because, with the campaign and we had all kinds of stuff, presidential race, and how long ago did they actually find out about this? And we've grown so accustomed to our government lying to us that just extraordinary stuff. Also, big Democrats in New Orleans. You see, 10 Democrats broke out of jail there. And apparently, they did it with the help of some Democrats working at the jail. 3 have been suspended. They get a sentence. 3 Democrats working at the jail in New Orleans. They had a jailbreak of 10, including murderers and attempted murderers. And so they're failed murderers. They wanted to be murderers, but they're not very good at anything. So all I wanted to do is murder somebody, and I even failed at that. Can you imagine being that guy? That'd be bad. But they broke out of jail. You see the video of them breaking out of jail and running away. Looked like they're having a nice time. 7 of them are still on the loose. And, I think shoot to kill orders is like, it looked like a bad movie, but that's because Democrats, really, when you come right down to it. So we've got that. 3 have been caught. 7 are still on the loose. And they're thinking maybe they're headed for Texas to head to the Mexico border. And I got to tell you, if we have these jailbreaking murderers and attempted murders, if they sneaked into Mexico, that'd be just desserts, wouldn't it? That'd be kind of entertaining in its own way. Sure hope they don't murder any mothers of 5 or nursing students or anything like that when they get to Mexico. The 7 escapees. The sheriff. Did the sheriff say they're all Democrats? Not technically. Maybe he didn't technically say it exactly like that, but you can see. That's good stuff. So we got a bunch coming up, and we're at 888-630-9625. You know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier is finally available to all of us. And the third generation builds on the incredible success of the previous generations, and those earned thousands of 5-star reviews on Al Gore's Amazing Internet, bestseller in no time. This new Eden Pure Thunderstorm uses 2 different technologies that studies have shown help to kill up to 99.9% of bacteria and viruses floating in the air that you breathe at home, at the office. It also removes dust and pet stuff and smoke and a whole lot more from the air that you breathe. And it gets rid of any stinky odor with no filters to buy and replace over and over again. The Thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky smell guaranteed. Talking about trash cans and cigarette smoke and left-wing protesters, musty basements, and more. No match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. Right now, you can save $200 American on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. So you put one in your basement, your teenager's room, any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com on Al Gore's amazing internet. Use the discount code Chris3. That's me and the number 3 to save $200 on 3 Eden Pure Thunderstorms. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Chris3. Yes, sir. All right, a lot of news, as you can tell. President Trump, we've got, the good, the bad, and the ugly for you today on the Chris Plante Show. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at WashingtonTimes.com/Chris. Yes. All right, let us go to the telephones and talk to the great American people. I've also got a racist, anti-Semite, Jew hater at George Washington University giving a speech at graduation yesterday, and then the Hamas people were celebrated. I think they were hanging Israelis behind the stage. The Democrats have really done a job on our country. Right now, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Jack, calling from the once great state of California. Jack, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Well, Chris, I just learned you went to college in the great state of California.
I did. I did some imitation of that. Santa Barbara City College, primarily.
Well, did you have fun? Santa Barbara is known for a lot of fun there.
I had a great time.
Of course you did. Hey,
yeah.
So I want to update you. Look what's going on in California. First of all, you have the Palm Springs bombing, which you talked about. All week long, they're fighting to get the Menendez brothers, who literally killed their parents. So that's the big issue. We don't have homeless. We don't have any other problems. We don't have a budget, with Gavin Newsom out $100 billion loss. We used to have a surplus. No, we're worried about the Menendez brothers getting out. But then there was another story about Adam Schiff and his big mortgage problems. His mortgage fraud is double the problems that Letitia James. They put a Letitia James statue up in New York, Times Square. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, she looks sturdy.
Exactly the same. But you mentioned free speech, and that's what I want to close with. But they were talking all at the end of last week about Chuck Schumer had a plan B. And I just went online. Do you know where Chuck Schumer was the moment Trump was shot?
Where?
It's in the New York Times artitle. I just read it.
I'm right out of time.
On July the 13th of last year was sitting with Joe Biden, right coincidentally at the moment Trump was shot.
Wow. Hey, we're back. I thank you, Jack. We ran out the clock on that one. But Jack got in his story, New York Times publishing that Chuck Schumer, self-loathing swine that he is, was actually sitting with Joe Biden when Donald Trump was shot through the ear in Butler, Pennsylvania. And just a coincidence, I'm sure. Chuck Schumer was also out pretending to be Jewish in New York yesterday, doing a bad job. But pro-Israel people took to the streets yesterday. I don't think there was no looting, there was no firebombing, because they're all mentally healthy, normal people who appreciate civilization. The left, on the other hand, they're not on the side of good. They're on the side of evil. They're not on the side of God. They love the after-school Satan Club for the kids. But there was a lot of graduations going on across the country. And in Washington, D.C., we have a lot of colleges. So yesterday and day before yesterday, Georgetown University clogging up that whole part of the city big time. But nice to see the people with their mortarboards walking around happy with their parents, and their parents can stop paying for at least this part of it. Hey, Mom, I've decided I need 2 master's degrees. But the graduation at the George Washington University, where the Democrats literally want to take down the bust of George Washington at George Washington University because they teach anti-Americanism, anti-Westernism, anti-Enlightenment brainwashing. But there was a graduation ceremony there, and I want to share a little bit of it with you because it's all about the Democrat Party. And Democrat Party there, I've said many times before, the Democrat Party, I'd like to talk to RFK Jr. about this, because I believe that the Democrat Party today is closer on the political spectrum, not to John F. Kennedy, who was shot in the head by Lee Harvey Oswald, but they're closer on the political spectrum to Lee Harvey Oswald, a communist who allegedly shot John F. Kennedy in the head and killed him, Dealey Plaza, Dallas, Texas, November 22nd, 1963. But that's not important. And I've also said many times that the Democrat Party today is closer on the political spectrum to Sirhan Sirhan than they are to Robert F. Kennedy, the senior, who was shot in the head out of the Ambassador Hotel, Los Angeles, California, night of the California primary in 1968. And Sirhan Sirhan was actually granted parole in California by the parole board several years ago now, but Gavin Newsom hasn't signed the paper to make it official and let him out, even though the parole board has given Sirhan Sirhan parole. They've granted him parole. Isn't that amazing? These people. Oh, yeah, and Tim Walz, the man who would be vice president, he's out there calling everybody Nazis and Gestapo again, which is a little ironic given the fact that they're firebombing. They firebombed the home of Jewish governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, with Molotov cocktails, hoping to, a Democrat did, hoping to burn to death the Jewish governor and his Jewish family during Passover. The Seder dinner was over with, and a Democrat came in with firebombs and firebombed the sleeping Jewish governor and his sleeping Jewish family and their sleeping Jewish governor's mansion. Is that okay to call it the sleeping Jewish? Because pretty amazing stuff. But they, and then you go out and call everybody Nazis while you're firebombing Teslas and all this. But let me go to this. A student at the George Washington University, which I believe is the most expensive university in the United States of America. I've heard that reported. I've seen it reported. And a young woman, as far as we can tell, named Cecilia Culver. Cecilia Culver, apparently not Jewish. And the Economic Times has a story. Who is Cecilia Culver? Why is her speech sparking debates? Only it's not really debates. It should just be condemnation. And pretty amazing stuff. So Cecilia Culver, a George Washington University graduate, delivered a controversial speech criticizing Israeli actions in Gaza, because if you want to exterminate the Jewish people and the Jewish state, and there's only one Jewish state, then the Democrat Party wants to date you, and that's a euphemism. They want you to date their daughters, and that's a euphemism too. But the speech criticizing Israeli actions in Gaza, sparking debate over university funding and free speech. I think, the fact that taxpayers are funding these universities that charge $80,000 per student per year, and they have more real estate holdings than, the nation's bank, honestly, they shouldn't be getting taxpayer money. You should be self-funding. Her condemnation of the military action, that's the Israeli military action, not Hamas's military action, and call for divestment, that's that DEI stuff, and divestment ignited both support and concern. The university has initiated a review amidst a national conversation. They always like to call it a national conversation. The Democrats are firebombing the Jews, and conservatives are having a conversation about why the Democrats are firebombing the Jews. That's the only national conversation going on about campus protests and federal regulations, highlighting the power of student voices. So here is this woman, nearly 4-minute-long speech, George Washington University graduate, on the Israeli strikes in Gaza. Release the dead bodies of the hostages that you kidnapped, raped, and murdered. And then maybe we can have a conversation about you guys being the victims in this. You're a genocidal terrorist death cult. But never mind that. The Democrat Party, it's diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? And now you got to divest and boycott and sanction. It's boycott, divest, and BDS, which used to just be them engaging in bondage, and discipline with whips and things like that. But now they're sicker than that. Just amazing stuff. So 4-minute speech, George Washington University, Israeli strikes in Gaza, sharply contrasts with the stand taken by U.S. President Donald Trump on the issue, and it has sparked a massive debate on the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Cecilia Culver, an economics and statistics graduate. I want everyone to know her name. No one should ever hire her for anything. What is she? All right, Cecilia, let's do a little math test. All right. 2,000 members of Hamas kidnap 1,200 Israelis and rape and murder them over the course of 6 months. How long did it take to kill? How many were killed each day? Cecilia, let's see if your econ skills are going to just amazing stuff. But I would give her a math test, and I'm sorry. I don't hire the Gestapo. I don't hire the Nazis. Amazing stuff. So here is Cecilia Culver, who no one should hire ever in her life to do anything, anywhere. And if you do, then you're a fascist. But never mind that. Cecilia Culver, George Washington University, like $80,000 a year for us students. And she got her degree. She got an award there, the CCAS Distinguished Scholar Award. And she also got a Federal Reserve Excellence Award. And she got an internship. And this is Cecilia Culver. Was she wearing, I didn't watch the video, I just listened to her. Was she wearing an armband of any kind with a twisted cross? Did she have like a tall hat, hobnailed boots? I saw a riding crop slapping her leg. Cecilia Culver.
For over a year, we have watched a genocide be committed against Palestinians.
Woo! Listen to them go wild. That's what we've watched. Not the kidnapping, rape, and murder of people for being Jewish by a radical Islamic terrorist group. That's not what we...
I cannot celebrate my own graduation without a heavy heart, knowing how many students in Palestine have been forced to stop their studies, expelled from their homes, and killed for simply remaining in the country of their ancestors.
Listen to the crowd. It's Munich in 1933. They ended the ceremony by all singing Deutschland, Deutschland über alles together. I thought that was kind of unusual, didn't you? That was weird. She's very concerned about the students who took a break from their schoolwork to rape, torture, and murder people for being Jewish. Yee! And listen to the crowd. This is what's happened at American college campuses. It is Munich 33. These people are not on the side of civilization. They've been brainwashed and indoctrinated by professional leftists who are not liberal at all, not even close. Isn't that amazing? And they're just loving the death. They love the death. It's a death cult. It's the Democrat Party. Cecilia Culver.
The horrors unfolding halfway across the world may be easy to ignore for those lacking a moral backbone. For the rest of us...
Yeah, you've got a moral backbone.
For the rest of us, these atrocities cause us to take stock in our own complacency in the imperialist system.
Imperialist system!
I am ashamed to know my tuition is being used to fund genocide. I'm going to say that again. I am ashamed to know my tuition is being used to fund this genocide.
Their ancestors. The Jews have been there for 4,000 years. See the Temple of Solomon, and I got to tell you, she ought to be gassed, don't you think? Gassed? That's I don't really, maybe just tear gas. Just maybe bring in those trucks that fire the the gas like out of a fire cannon on the water cannon on the roof. The imperialist system. Yeah, and we've got to boycott, divest, and sanction Israel and support a literal genocidal terror group that is still holding hostages, including the hostages of people they've already murdered. And they're still holding the dead bodies of the people they kidnapped, raped, and murdered. And Cecilia has been so brainwashed that she's on the side of the Nazis, of the murderers here, of the genocidal, Jew-hating lunatics, and, you know, their imperial system, the Jews and their imperial system. Yeah, and she can't believe that. She's ashamed, she said, that her tuition is funding genocide. But you think they're funding Hamas and the Democrats? I guess they are funding the Democrats, aren't they? Isn't that amazing? The Democrat Party has done this to Cecilia Culver.
Every year, the cost of attending this university increases without a corresponding improvement in the facilities and resources provided to students, staff, and faculty. Instead, our money is put into the pockets of those who unequivocally prove time and time again they do not care about the students and faculty that create this university's prestigious university.
This university's prestigious university? She's got a 4.0 GPA.
Despite repeated calls from students and faculty to disclose all endowments and investments by the university and divest from the apartheid state of Israel, the administration has refused to negotiate in good faith.
The apartheid state of Israel. You know what they would do to her, given half a chance? I'd actually like to, Cecilia, I'd like to offer you the opportunity. I would like to offer you the opportunity to travel to Gaza and, probably die in a tunnel underground after a horrific extended period of time in the custody of Hamas, a radical Islamic jihadi terrorist, genocidal death cult, actual genocide, as opposed to the fictional genocide that the Democrat Party teaches. Cecilia, that's Cecilia with a C. And Culver with a C also. Ceciliaculver, Cecilia Culver. And she did great at their parent center to a very expensive school. And no one should ever hire her in the history of the world. She should never work. She should be driving her mom's car for Uber for the rest of her life. Cecilia Culver.
I call upon the class of 2025 to withhold donations and continue advocating for disclosure and divestment.
Don't donate. You don't have any money. To the school, to the university, your parents just gave them like $300,000. And
none of us are free until Palestine is free. Thank you.
None of us are free until Palestine. And listen to the crowd. Really better. What's the old line? Better in its original German. Aren't they amazing? In Washington, D.C., America's capital, one of, if not the most expensive university in the country. And then the hobnailed, boot-wearing, goose-stepping lunatics, a bunch of protesters had to be dragged out by the police who they want to defund and who they call the Gestapo.
All our students must be free! And the state brutality! All our students must be free! All our students must be free! And the state brutality!
I break out the tear gas. Tear gas and nightsticks. I'd deliver them to Gaza. You guys should bring sandwiches. Bring them a bunch of ham sandwiches. See how that goes. Good. They love ham sandwiches. The Gaza people. That's great. Wait till you hear the governor of Minnesota. I've got him coming up for you as well. You know that when a mother with an unplanned pregnancy is deciding what to do about the future for herself and for her unborn child, it's kind of overwhelming for a lot of women, of course. She wants to make the right choice, but society and those people around her, I'm talking about, telling her baby is not a life, not a human life, but preborn's whole ministry is geared to loving these women and to empower them to make the choice of life. And it's an eternal moment. Stephanie Young woman Stephanie was afraid she was pregnant, and she felt she didn't deserve love and support. But after visiting a caring preborn clinic, she experienced her eternal moment when she saw her child on ultrasound, moving about, little fingers, a heartbeat. If you have the means, would you please consider a leadership gift to save babies in a big way? Your tax-deductible donation of $5,000 will sponsor Preborn's entire network for 24 hours, helping to rescue 200 unborn babies. To donate, all you have to do is dial pound 250, and when prompted, you say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, the keyword is baby, or you can donate securely online at preborn.com/plant, right there on Al Gore's amazing internet. Preborn.com/PLANTE. Preborn has a 100% charity rating, so you know that you're good to go with Preborn. All right, we've got next one I want to share because now that you heard what the modern Third Reich sounds like, the Fourth Reich at George Washington University in America's capital, our nation's capital. Wait till you hear what the man who wanted to be vice president is talking about. All right, I'm going to get to the man who would be vice president, the governor of Minnesota, and these people, can I just say, wait till you hear this guy. Right now, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Mike, calling from Bucharest, Romania. Miguel, you're on the Chris Plant Show. I thought I threw a little Miguel in there just because. Hey, Mike.
Well, good morning, sir. Well, it's afternoon here, but good morning to you.
Right, thank you. And to you as well.
I just wanted to say I have a theory about this diagnosis of Mr. Biden that, they're just finding out about it. I think the same doctor that treated him that missed his obvious dementia, he must have missed that prostate cancer too, because there's no way. I just got recently diagnosed about a year and a half ago, and it just doesn't get to that stage overnight, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, stage 4 prostate cancer, right. And if he had a doctor paying attention to him, they would have discovered it years ago, right, Mike?
Oh, there's no way. I mean, and I just happened to go to high school with my doctor, so he's giving me all the, the real skinny, and it just didn't get like that overnight.
And I got to say, he was president of the United States. Thankfully, not anymore. These doctors need to be called up.